Welcome, folks. I'm sorry we're a little late and we had some logistics to deal with. This is the House Corrections and Institutions Committee. And we are quickly meeting to see if we can agree with some language to see if it can be offered to our colleagues in House Appropriations Committee on the appropriations bill to clarify our process for replacing the Middlesex Secure Residential Facility on some other state-owned land that may become available. Right now, there seems to be very clear that a program will be discontinued, and we want to see if we can continue our work with replacing the Middlesex Secure Residential Facility and building a new facility. I'd like to turn this over to Becky and offer, there's two options for language. We may want to go in a little bit different direction if we have clarity that, yes, we want to move ahead with the Middlesex facility, a secure residential. So there's two options here. One is to have BGS notify the chairs when there's prior to any modification, disposition, or demolition of a building. And then option B is that the commissioner of BGS needs to submit a plan for that. So there's two different types of approaches there. And what I'm really looking for is that there is clarity so the administration knows what the legislative intent is in terms of how we proceed with the construction and replacement of the Middlesex Secure Residential Facility on state-owned land that we already own. So I'm going to turn this over to Becky. And again, I can't see all of you, so speak up if you have a question, because I'm sharing my screen here.
So Becky Wasserman, Legislative Counsel. As the chair mentioned, there are two options here. Option A, starting on line 3, requires that the Commissioner of BGS notifies the chairs of both the House and Senate institutions committees prior to any modification, disposition, or demolition of the buildings located at parcel ID 200-5003-001 as designated on the town of Essex tax parcel maps. And that parcel ID number was provided by BGS, and I just have to confirm that that is the correct number. But the buildings are referenced in the same way in option B. The difference is that in option B, this is requiring the Commissioner of BGS to submit a plan for the modification, disposition, or demolition of those buildings by January 15th of next year to the House Committee on Corrections and Institutions and the Senate Committee on Institutions.
So the difference is, one is there's a notification, there's no date involved, and then the second one is there is a date involved on January 15th of next year. The BGS would submit a plan. So one would occur quicker than the other is my thinking. Thoughts, questions? Kurt? You're muted.
If the intended purpose is to make it clear that we want this facility to perhaps be used for the Middlesex, seems to me we should mention Middlesex in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm. You could add somewhere, if you go with the first option, you could say after maps for the purpose of the new secure residential facility. There is a title for that facility, Staff, physically secure. I know Commissioner Squirrel uses it all the time, so help us on that one, Commissioner.
Yeah, good afternoon. For the record, Sarah Squirrel, Commissioner of the Department of Mental Health. It is the Physically Secure Recovery Residence. The acronym is PSRR.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I had a question. Is the intent that we don't want them to move forward without the committee's or the committee chair's approval? My question in option A, it's just asking for a notification.
there's no approval needed. It's just a notification.
Yeah, and I guess with option B, that really does delay the
They'd
Yep.
have to come up with a plan. And then it would be presented on January 15th. And then it's silent on the action after that. So in option A, I'm gonna look to Becky. Does that option A, because it's a notification to the chairs prior to any modification, disposition, or demolition of the buildings, that implies that you have the okay to go ahead, but you have to notify us?
Right, there's no approval process for option A, it's just a notification.
Okay. Other folks, I can't see everyone.
Alice, do you mind if I just follow up on that?
Sure.
It seems that if the intent of the committee is for just to be notified and not to ask to have any, I guess, agency or approval, then option A as it's written would be fine, but I just don't know if that's the intent of the committee.
I think our colleagues who set the policy on the House side are willing to go ahead with the demolition and the beginning of the construction of the Middlesex replacement of the Middlesex Secure Residential Facility.
And if I've read it where this would be inserted, it follows some other language so that that's clear.
Well, the question is to insert it. It may be better to insert it under a section that deals with mental health, because it's a mental health facility that we're building. But that would be up. We have Catherine with us. That's in the appropriations world to do that, how they approach something like that. Butch?
Alice, thanks.
You Butch, you muted there. Now you're unmuted.
There you go. Okay. I pushed my space bar so much it doesn't hardly work anymore. My intent was this morning and still holds that if we're serious about going ahead with this plan and we have the blessings of the committees of jurisdiction, then we just go ahead and allow BGS to inform the chairs of what they're doing and get it done. I hesitate on mentioning anything about the secure residential in the language because if you don't want to give the perception of kicking people out of Woodside so you can build a secure residential, I think it would be not good. It wouldn't be great to put that intent in this language. So I think I would like to be a little bit careful about that. And the final piece is it's going to take BGS, well, the way things are happening lately, months to get ready to even put the job out to bid. So it'll be, December or January before they're ready to even start doing that. So by that time, this committee should be back in our seats wherever they may be to give them more money to proceed.
Madam Chair,
Yes, it's Jennifer, Commissioner.
Um,
Sorry.
for the record, my name is Jennifer Fitch and I'm the Acting Commissioner of Buildings and General Services. and I just wanted to provide an update on where we're at with the project. So we are completing the end of design development. We are getting a general construction manager under contract. That construction manager should be under contract in the next week or two. So in terms of advancing the project, we, assuming we have authority to proceed, can actually proceed in the next few weeks with demolition, obviously, if we had approval to move forward. So our preference would be option A.
Becky, is there any,
And without, sorry,
no, go ahead.
without a parcel identified, it also prevents us from being able to continue with design, because we're at a point now where we actually have to take the building and we physically have to put it on a site. So if we don't proceed forward, it will create a pause and a delay both in the design side, and will also delay our ability to do any demolition, assuming we use a site that we need to demolish buildings on.
Well, Alice, can I respond to that?
Yeah,
Thank you. So, Commissioner, we have the parcel identified in the current language. My objection was to mention the replacement facility within that language.
so Becky, do we need to change anything in our previous capital bills for this? We gave them the authority to go out and seek land within central Vermont, and then we extended that, but we didn't do that through the capital bill.
I think I'd have to dig into that a little bit more. There's been a few different times this language has been addressed in the capital bill that I can recall. So I just need to make sure there's nothing else that would need to change.
I think we've got to check on that, because, well, even for FY21, I think we just put in the money. We didn't have any language.
If I can stop screen sharing and try to look at that as you continue to discuss, if that works.
So before you do that, are people comfortable with option A over option B?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay, so,
yes.
so let Becky see if there's anything in the capital bill. She can stop this sharing. So then the question is, on that option A, do people want to specifically say the secure residential, or leave it silent?
I'm getting confused as to what exactly we're trying to do if we don't mention the PSRR. Are we just giving them permission to go ahead?
Mm-hmm.
And is it to do that, is it necessary to do this, or I guess that's your question about the capital bill.
Well, the language on the programming is silent on the building. So we're trying to clarify that piece. So Butch, do you want to say something? Or not, because you're muted.
And that was a good thing, Alice, that I was muted.
Maybe I should mute myself sometimes. You're the one that said not to put in the secure residential, right?
I did say that because knowing that they don't have any money to build anything yet gives me some comfort. And we'll have a nice vacant lot unless the legislature appropriates them a lot more money to start a build. So that's my thought on that. I'm just really concentrating now on trying to figure out what town we're in. Are we in Essex or are we in Colchester?
Essex.
Essex?
Yes.
Okay, then I can stop my quest. Thanks.
So where are we on listing the secure residential or not? Marcia says no. Butch said no. Terry is shaking his head no. Did we
I'm a
leave it?
no.
Carl says
No.
Mary.
And Carl? I didn't hear what you said, Carl.
no.
No. So leave it the way it is and not indicate the secure residential. Just giving Sarah?
I just wanted some clarification from the acting commissioner. Does that pose a problem for you if we don't reference that's not a problem?
Unfortunately, I'm not the legal expert in terms of how to interpret the language. I would believe it would not present a problem because you're allowing us to use that site. I think the language allows us to use the site for something. And I believe we have prior language regarding Woodside. There is some citing language, I believe, if I remember correctly, with that language. We were supposed to meet with somebody off session, I think. This is where I get a little fuzzy and gray, and Eric may remember better than I do. But I also believe that we have been working well with the chair of both the House Institutions and Senate Institutions committees as well. So we've been providing, periodic updates and reaching out proactively. I would hope that Madam Chair agrees with me on that, but we've certainly been trying to at BGS, and I know that mental health has as well.
Yeah, you've been trying to get clarity.
Yes, we've been trying to get clarity. That is correct, Madam Chair.
And I've been saying we can't move ahead until we know what our policy committees are doing. And I'm really want to make sure that there's clarity in the appropriations bill in terms of our work with the secure residential. Eric?
I would, of course, yield to Becky because she wrote the memo that I originally read on this stuff, but I believe it's within the commissioner's authority to repurpose properties with the consent of the agency that is impacted programmatically. I'm not saying that in the right order, but basically the BGS commissioner has the authority to modify, demolish, do a certain range of activities within a state property with the consent of the impacted programs. So I think between that and the capital bill, we're in decent shape for proceeding. And I think I think construction is included in the language in the original appropriation. So it's not to say that we're going to run all over town with bulldozers, but I think we're in a pretty good place.
So Becky's still doing some research here on our previous capital bills. So is the committee comfortable and supportive of option A? And as it's drafted currently and without indicating using that land for the secure residential?
Yeah,
Kurt?
I'm happy with doing that. It just depends on what you're really trying to do. But if you're, so that's fine. I'm not sure whether, it depends on what Becky says as to whether we need this at all, I guess, is my question. Especially for, I mean, what's the purpose if they already have the permission? But we'll see what she says.
So
Butch?
I seem to remember a bit of a dust up in the committee when the previous commissioner came in and said, well, we're going to put a bulldozer on the corner of the building and start pushing it down.
Back in May and June?
Yeah, there was a bit of a dust up. So I'm not sure that that BGS has the authority to knock this building down, even though it may statute.
Until the legislature acts.
Absolutely. That's in session law somewhere.
Well, if that's the case, which is what I remember as well, then I think notify is not, we need more than notify. We need more than just to have them notify us. We need to actually say they can do it. Seems to me.
I'm not sure, because if we have a plan, aren't we inferred that they can go ahead and go ahead and demolish it, because we have to have a plan. And if we pass the budget, the plan's been seemingly approved.
So we're back to option B? Because
Option B is a plan for how you're going to demolish it.
well, option A is just a notification.
Right.
Okay, I see. There
But
would be
you've got the go-ahead to demolish it.
and you'd have a plan behind the notification.
The
Yeah.
plan is you're going to for your juveniles in the justice system, you're the plan is to have them in a more appropriate setting. That's the plan. That's the policy plan. Sarah?
So
If-
I think that my question is, where would we insert this? If we insert this in the section of, if we propose to insert it in the section of the budget that refers to Woodside, the language about the requirement of a plan is really clear. If it goes into another if it goes into another section of the budget, I think that it might make sense to have some qualifying language just in reference to the plan.
Mhm.
I think if you put it within the DMH, it's clear that we're looking at a mental health facility.
Not to check, but aren't we asking that the required plan is for Woodside? Isn't that what the legislature in the budget is asking DCF and AHS to do? Which is different than the Department of Health?
I think we have to be very careful that there isn't interpretation that you're moving the kids out to demolish the building.
I understand that, and that's why I think if we put it in the other section for DMH, we just
Bring the
might
timer up
make
here.
reference to a plan for the juveniles, that's all.
Are you talking about putting that in option 1?
In option A, yeah.
Careful.
I don't know.
I could be convinced otherwise, but it's a little, when it's in a different section of the bill, I have to say I start to agree with Kurt. Then what's the
Perception is reality. I know people are confused. I can see it on your faces.
I guess I'm going to be, I just want to make sure that that we have a plan. And I think that the policy committee has expressed this, and we have language that before we make a final commitment about this site, that we really want to be assured that there's a plan for our juveniles so that they don't wind up in our correctional facilities and for other reasons as well. So
so the language that came back from the Senate on the appropriations bill does put in that plan.
right.
So
That
Becky,
language,
go ahead, Butch.
well, that language there was pretty clear. They didn't identify Beckett, but they also said through other words, and I can't remember them exactly, if it's not Beckett, it's going to be somebody else. I think they inferred that nobody's going back to Woodside. I think I read that maybe I read it wrong, but I read it into the language that they weren't headed in that direction.
So Eric, what was your thumbs up for?
I actually listened to all of the Senator Probst's testimony, and they went to some lengths to try and separate the building from the program.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the path we're taking here is honoring that intent.
So
even if there was, I beg your pardon.
no, the path in terms of option A.
Yeah, nobody's going back to Woodside as it is, right?
That's the plan.
It's not an appropriate
So,
space for the programs we're trying to administer for any of them.
mhm.
Yeah,
So-
this is Commissioner Squirrel. That's correct and accurate. The current Woodside facility, as it currently stands, was built for a different time, a different population, and it's an inappropriate facility for any kind of therapeutic treatment whatsoever. And I think that is one area that is clear. But we also want to separate the longer term programmatic needs of where those youth need a secure setting and long-term planning from the repurposing of the site to advance a critical system of care needed in our mental health system.
Mhm. And that's why you have to be careful about the language that's used and where you place it in the budget. And that's why the thinking was maybe place our language that we're proposing in the mental health section. So
Is there an appropriation for the demolition? That's what I'm not, I'm
Would
getting
it
stuck
be
on.
within, that's why I'm wondering, would it be within our capital budget with, I mean, BGS has to have the money to
Yeah,
bulldoze it, which
It's,
would be part of your design and construction, right?
yeah, I think it's in 42.
Correct, Madam Chair. I would say that the language is not specific to the site or site criteria itself. It's asking BGS, right, to go out and do a land search for a site. So even if we chose another site, let's say not this one, and it had a building on it, right, demolition would be part of the project development process, and we've gotten money for the project development process. So that would be all encompassing within your construction component of that language.
It's section 30 of Act 42 is the intent language. And then,
Yeah, but it doesn't specifically say you can
oh, there's
use.
there's
Sorry, go
another,
ahead.
there's another place where there is funds appropriated for Middlesex replacement.
Mhm.
Maybe it's in,
I'm wondering if we amended our previous capital budgets in the appropriations bill, if that's a clearer way of doing it.
So there, just to go back, there is language that says if the General Assembly makes a specific appropriation, then the commissioner, in consultation with whatever department or agency, can select sites, purchase lands, determine plans and specifications, and advertise for bids for the furnishing of materials and construction, and is basically in charge of all the beginning and completing the construction. I guess what I'm stuck on is whether this is a specific appropriation to demolish Woodside, or it's just a specific appropriation to construct a new facility.
So if the Woodside land is used, part of that construction cost for the secure residential would include the demolition, but it's not clear in our capital bill language about the demolition piece, correct?
In the buildings world, though, construction would encompass whatever we need to do to a site, right, to build a new facility.
But
So
in
I would say,
in the legislative world, it might be a little different because we're saying construction, and that we may want to refine that to include demolition. I know what you're saying, Jennifer, in your world, but when we appropriate the money, that might be the more appropriate way for an amendment, that we offer language that goes back to amend our capital budget that appropriates the money for the secure residential, that we put in demolition or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Butch?
I've got the language that Eric referred to here. There's in the 2 years, 20 and 21, there's $4.5 million. And we could, I think you're right. I think you may have hit this on the nose. Just add a word or two in the 2020 appropriation, section 3 of the bill, to say demolition, necessary demolition, or maybe necessary modifications to the land.
So this is Act what, 30?
42.
42?
Yeah. Act 42 of 19, so it's current. I think it may be easier just to go ahead and put a word or two in here. I'm thinking out loud, I guess.
What page are you on, Butch?
Page 4,
Page 4.
section 3, because it's under human services. And
Yeah,
it
section
says, statewide secure residential recovery facility replacement, land acquisition, design, permitting, and construction documents.
Right.
So it doesn't say anything about demolition. And
We
then,
can
but
make-
that's in FY 20,
Yeah, if you go to page 5, you'll see the
FY 21.
If you go to see that it does construction there.
Yeah. So after permitting, you put demolition and construction.
Yeah.
You want to be
I think-
specific about what, about the parcel ID here?
We have to.
You could say parcel
But-
land.
I don't,
If you want to be more specific, I mean, I don't know that BGS would demolish any other buildings, but
I think we can get that right.
I don't know.
But
Maybe going out on a limb.
if you want to sort of focus the scope on, if the idea is that you don't want to necessarily require any sort of approval to come back, or it might just be clearer to be specific in the language about what they're demolishing.
Okay, Kurt?
I'm wondering whether the word replacement implies it could be could demolish. Because it says replacement. I mean,
I think replacement, our intent was, it pertains to the current facilities being replaced, the secure residential facilities being replaced.
I see. Okay. Yeah, look at that way too. Yep.
How
So
about
I'm thinking, well, who spoke?
how about just an and or demolition after land acquisition? It probably would be helpful if we could squeeze in the parcel number on that.
Do people want to put in that parcel number?
I think we should.
We can do that. I think it would be clearer to amend our capital bill. Then you keep it with session law, with the money. Maybe.
And if there's no land acquisition, you can just take that. I mean, if it's just really, it sounds like at this point, they're not going to be acquiring land. They're just going to be demolishing the building on that land that is already owned by the state.
Mhm.
How about site preparation? Does that work?
Do you want to say site preparation on state-owned property?
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
say that. Not say the word demolition.
Site prep?
Yeah.
And,
Maybe we're getting too fuzzy for BGS. I don't know.
We want everybody to be happy.
Hmm.
yes, Alistair.
And it's how you all interpret it versus how we interpret it at BGS. As long as we're all on the same page, I think the specific wording is likely less important to us.
So how would site preparation be interpreted by BGS?
Well, it would be anything that we would need to do to prepare or do any site work, right? And site work would encompass demolition.
It would be a requirement of getting a level site. Sorry.
So first off, for the committee, are people agreeing it's a better path to amend our capital bill versus trying to put language that doesn't pertain to our capital bill and the appropriations bill. Either way, it's going to go in the appropriations bill, but the amendment is going to be amending our previous capital bill versus that option A. Are people okay with that? Now, it would be in I would assume the language that we're looking at would be in the FY21 piece of the 2-year capital bill. Because you're allowing this to go forward in FY21 with FY. So the question is, you take out land acquisition, you put in site preparation of a state-owned land, or do you want to do the parcel ID?
Players are all sitting here.
Hmm?
The players are
I know,
all sitting
here.
here.
You can just do a,
I like the parcel ID because then you know where it is at.
other folks? Terry, you're muted. Did you say anything? You went back and forth.
I can go either way.
Yeah, I can go either way too, but Becky,
I-
yours, Mary?
Same with me. Same with me. I could probably go either way. I think it'll work. I still think people are going to ask what it is, but that's okay.
I can go either way, but I'm wondering what that means for Commissioner Fitch. If that has any implications for BGS.
I'm comfortable with the proposal.
Which one, that you identify the parcel, or you just say site preparation at a state-owned property, state-owned land?
This is where that sort of legal piece is a little trickier for me. I mean, whatever we all believe best conveys that BGS has the ability to utilize that site for a different purpose. Whatever language or strategy we believe works best for that is what I would recommend and support. So I guess I'm tossing that back to the group to say, because ultimately it's how we both interpret it, but this is legislative language, so I feel like it's more important than you guys interpret it in the way that allows us to utilize the site.
So if we don't do the parcel ID number and just say state-owned land, and that opens up anything to state-owned land for replacing the secure residential. If you give the parcel ID number, we're very clear that we want that parcel to be used for the secure residential.
Otherwise, we might try to put it at 133 State Street.
No, we've already taken it.
But it also, when people
Ouch.
say, do you have a plan for the land? At least you do have a plan for the land, and you have the parcel number of the land you're going to have the plan for.
So we should put in the parcel numbers where I'm thinking.
Yeah,
we
that's
should
my
do.
opinion, but yes, I think so.
Okay.
I would agree.
Doesn't get any clearer than that.
I
We're on
agree.
the clock, Alice.
Pardon?
We're on the clock.
I know.
Let's go with it. Let's go with it.
Haven't been a lister for 9 years. I've worked with parcel numbers.
Okay, so it would read FY21 statewide secure residential facility replacement, site work,
Site
and then
preparation.
site the parcel, design, permitting, and construction. You take out land acquisition. Is that correct? Is that what you would do, Becky?
Did you want to add in site preparation? You mentioned that before as well.
There it is.
Says it already. Here's the
Okay.
draft. Becky,
So
she works hard.
it would, so option C is to amend the 2019 capital bill in section 3. It's the FY21 appropriation to BGS for the Agency of Human Services. Subdivision 1 would be changed to statewide secure residential recovery facility replacement, striking out land acquisition, then design, permitting, site preparation of the land located at parcel ID 200-5003001 as designated on the town of Essex tax parcel maps, and construction. Essex.
You have your site preparation, which would include demolition and all the other site work. And then you've identified where the parcel is that this work's going to occur. And you've taken out land acquisition because we didn't have to acquire it.
I guess my other question, based on comment made from Commissioner Squirrel, is whether that needs to now be changed to physically secure recovery residence.
To track, so it'd have to be also done in FY20.
Yeah, let's just not get too crazy here.
Why don't we just leave it secure residential recovery facility?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm thinking when we did the state hospital, when we were appropriating the money for that, we didn't really have a name for it. And we named it after the fact. And that's basically what we're going to do here. So I would just leave this. So I'd like to quickly get a vote of the committee so that this language can be proposed and given to, if I can get a copy of it and I can send it to Kimberly, that this is something we'd like to have added. We'd like to amend our previous capital budget. So I would entertain a motion to support this language and propose it to our House Appropriations Committee to be added to the budget bill.
I'll second it.
You got to move it first.
I'll move it wherever you want me to move it to.
Second.
It's been a long day.
I know. Cheer up. We got more and we're on the floor here in a few minutes. So Marcia moves. Is there anyone that seconds?
Second.
Rick seconds.
Whatever. Whoever.
We've discussed it. Any further discussion? If not, Sarah, can you please call the roll real quick?
Representative Taylor,
Yes.
Representative Sullivan. Absent. Representative Morrissey,
Yeah.
Representative Martell,
Yes.
Representative Leffler,
Yes.
Representative Krawinski, absent. Representative Demrow,
Yes.
Representative Coffey, yes. Representative McCaig,
Yes.
Representative Shaw,
Yes.
Representative Emmons.
Yes. Whew, thank you. Thank you. So we'll quickly, I'll get a copy of this. I will send it up to Kimberly Jessup because she's the one that's working on this piece of the budget. And she also, who has mental health in approps? Is it Kimberly? I got to find that out. I'll connect with Kitty. I'll do it that way.
Representative Hooper.
It's Mary? Okay, so I'll email those folks and let them know. So we are on the floor this afternoon in 3 minutes. So we need to finish up. And again, I want to thank Phil. You've been a trooper, and Becky. And I want to thank all you other folks as well, the commissioners of BGS and DMH and your support staff. It's good to see you. Good to have you back. Thank you for adjusting your schedule on such short notice. And I hope that we have clarity on how we move forward.
Thank you all.
And thank you for all your support as well, Madam Chair, and your committee.
Yeah, we've done some good work, our committee, and hope it continues. Anything else before we sign off here? Okay, thank you all. And we're signing off of YouTube. And then we as a committee will sign off.